Released May 11th, 1979 by Fiction Records, Three Imaginary Boys is The Cure's first studio album. It was later repackaged for the United States and Canada with a different track listing and under the title Boys Don't Cry, which was, without question, the most popular song that came off that particular album. But let's dig into the track list and see what we see. 10:15 Saturday Night is an absolute banger. One of my personal favorites. If you played it for most people, I don't think they would be able to identify it as a Cure song. It's not really what people consider the Cure's sound. Despite the upbeat tempo and the sort of rocking vibe of the song, the lyrics, when you dig into them, are a pretty plaintive statement about ennui and love lost that is absolutely a staple of the Cure's work. I have sung along and played the drums on my steering wheel to this song so many times, going so many different places, that it's sort of become a platonic memory of what Cure song I'm listening to while I'm driving. It's just good stuff. This one's pretty obscure, but with a sort of low, slinky bass line that reminds me of wandering through city streets at night, and some pretty dark lyrics. There's just something about the vibe to it that feels grim and a little sleazy in an exciting way. You should definitely check it out. So then we swing straight back into that pop-punk energy of 10:15 Saturday Night with Grinding Halt. Although I don't personally feel like it's as lyrically interesting as 10:15 Saturday Night, I can definitely get behind the idea of no cars, no people. It's another good driving song. Listening to this album all the way through, by the time you've hit song 4, you're probably suffering from emotional whiplash. High, low, high, and then definitely low. Another Day is fucking somber and almost painfully slow. And spend too much time thinking about the words that Robert's saying, and you will really end up in your head. It's fucking fantastic for blue light bubble baths, though, and trying to decide whether or not you want to sink entirely beneath the water. This is a song for when things are bad. This is not a happy tune. Every time I've ever been in a bar exchanging meaningless conversation with someone who didn't care about me, and I probably didn't care about them, just to sort of get some animal form of human contact, you know, because you're just so desperate for it. You just need it in the moment. And probably ultimately both of you knowing that it's going to be a mistake. That's Object. We are back at that sort of slinky, sleazy, late-night city energy from Accuracy. There's something almost Raymond Chandler about it, you know? It's easy for me to picture like hard-boiled detectives going into smoky rooms and someone is up on the mic repeating the words to this song. It's a speedy punk cover of a Hendrix song that most people my generation and below probably only know thanks to Wayne's World. Trick that the Cure would revisit again with Hello, I Love You, which is interesting. So if you're into that sort of thing, you'll dig it. If not, give it a miss. Meat Hook. It's bouncy, silly, it's fun, sort of fluff lyrics. It's like a much more upbeat version of The Caterpillar. There are echoes of Meat Hook in that later song. That probably doesn't make any sense to most of you. I don't know what to say about this one. For me, this is probably the song that I most associate with the album. It's the closest to being the entire album in single song form. It's got that sort of post-punk poppy feel, and the lyrics oscillate between, frankly, a commercial for a mail-order cake decorating set and the strangeness that arises between two people who feel like they should know each other and love each other and suddenly don't know what's going on anymore. I'd honestly have a hard time recommending this song to anyone, but if you wanted to understand the feel of Three Imaginary Boys as an album, you could just listen to this song and it would do pretty much the same thing. Fire in Cairo is without question my favorite song on this album. I love this song. 10:15 Saturday night's close, but Fire in Cairo goes so hard. It's fun to sing in karaoke, and the lyrics have some poetic flourishes that I really enjoy. You know, I'm talking about lyrics a lot, but I'm a lyrics guy. Like, the sound, the music is important, but I dig into the words, you know. It's just the way I do it. But yeah, Fire in Cairo, absolutely. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it now. What are you watching me for? Not You is a sort of companion piece to Object, and I would say probably the natural outgrowth of going through on the sort of premise, you know, at least for me anyway. Three Imaginary Boys, the title track, is phenomenal. And I think probably the song on the album that most closely resembles what the general public would consider a Cure song is moody atmosphere, the sort of poetic lyrics, the sadness, the melancholy. It's all there sort of bubbling to the surface on this one. And strangely, it's not the title track. You know, as I discussed earlier, the album was repackaged as Boys Don't Cry with a different track list, and Boys Don't Cry was added to the album, and that is definitely a Cure song. Like, that's almost a stereotypical Cure song, and not a great one. I think Three Imaginary Boys, for my personal taste, is the much better way to go. The Weedy Burton. All right, so this one's weird. It's an instrumental track, and it sort of takes that slinky, sort of sleazy feeling from earlier in the album and puts an almost country twang on it. It's an odd bit and a strange way to end the album for sure, but I still kind of dig it, you know? Three Imaginary Boys is a pretty solid Cure album, front to back. And it presents some sides of the band that, you know, fans who came along later or people who just aren't that familiar with their music might not be aware of and might not enjoy. Personally, I think it's a solid album. I rarely listen to it all the way through. There's a couple songs on there that are general skips for me. It depends on what I'm doing, especially if I'm driving. There's like 3 good songs off there that I'm going to pull into the playlist. Now, originally, I wasn't going to cover Boys Don't Cry as a separate album, since it's kind of a compilation. But looking over the track list, there's a few songs on there that I feel like I have some things to say about and some stories to tell involving. So, I guess next up, we'll do Boys Don't Cry. Final thoughts on the album. I would put it as pretty much better than anything that isn't a Cure album, but definitely in the middle tier of my personal favorites. But that's just what I think about it. And if you ever decide to give it a listen, I'd love to hear what you think about it. I love you, comrades.